So the two times in life I was very frustrated with God was one when Leah got cancer. I'm like, God, how can you do this? She's only 2. My gosh. 2-year-old kid. What does she do? How can she have cancer? And I was upset for a few months. I said, I'll never understand why. And then I didn't get promoted when we moved here. I'm like, God, I trusted in you. So those were the 2 big times I was very frustrated with our Lord.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough,
Do you spend like thousands of dollars a month?
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love.
Texas 6 years ago, we were stationed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's where my dad
But I
played.
was working across the river in Ohio. I was stationed in Pittsburgh, but we were living across the river in Ohio, a little town of Steubenville, Ohio, because famous home of Dean Martin, the singer and actor.
Yeah.
All it's famous for is that, but very famous for that. So we were living there, and things were very cheap there, economically cheap. It was steel and coal, and it was very depressed economically. So I was a commander there. We had 5 children. We were able to buy a 50-acre ranch, build our dream house. We were never going to leave. We had 20-foot ceilings, wall of windows, the whole thing, 4 bedroom, all that good stuff. It was very nice. And we weren't going to leave, and we raised all our kids there. They started driving side by sides at age 6. We would go to church, come home, get a pizza. My girls would shoot assault weapons at the targets. It was
That's
a
the
great
life.
Sunday. It was a great Sunday to do that. And so, but being a uniformed service commander, I said, hey, I'm a commander, and if I retire now, I'll make $5 a month. But if I get promoted to captain, which is equivalent of a colonel, if I get promoted to captain, I'll make $6 a month. So let's get promoted to captain. So I was offered a command in Dallas with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And I originally got commissioned in Dallas back in 1997. Yeah. So I was originally commissioned here. And so we came back to Dallas, bought a little house in this place called Craig Ranch in McKinney.
Oh, yeah. I used to live out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was
Blown
really neat because we were coming off 50 acres, had a big, 3,000 plus square foot house, a basement, whole thing. And all of a sudden we go into McKinney and the houses, they're like 6.5 inches apart, and I couldn't fit my Toyota Tundra in there. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in Texas and I can't fit my truck in my garage. It's very weird. I had to back it in, and then I'd have about a 1/4-inch room. So we lived there.
How was the adjustment of that for your family?
My biggest fear, and we, I was raised and teach my kids to trust in the Lord. I can do all things through God who strengthens me. But the challenge is, am I able to live what I preach? And I know it, but still, like in the dark of the night, you don't know it. And so our biggest challenge was we're bringing our children, and we have 5. So at that point, we had 2. We had 1 away at missionary. We had 1 who was 8th grade, Lily, and then we had Lucia, who was coming in as a junior. So our biggest fear was, how can we bring these kids, rip them out of all they've known, and they were in private Catholic school for all these years, and they knew nobody divorced. They knew, because it was little Mecca. So we go to Frisco Independence High School, huge, bigger than most college campuses, very impressive. So we're there, and my daughter Lily, the youngest, got into FFA, met a great group of friends there. And then my daughter Lucia, she decided to start the Frisco Pro-Life Club at Frisco Independence High School.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Really cool because
Yeah.
we're very pro-life. I don't think it's good that we abort babies. So I'm a big fan of living. So I'm glad I'm alive and didn't get aborted. So So this move here to Texas was supposed to be for me because Commander wanted to make captain because I wanted to make $1,000 more a month in retirement. I wanted to make $6 a month instead of $5 a month. So we uproot everything. We leave our dream ranch. We come here. And so our daughter Lucia starts the pro-life club. Her senior year, the principal says, or one of the admin people say, you can't advertise your pro-life club with social media and link it to the school. And she's very respectful, raised a uniform service girl. She says, well, sir, respectfully, why do you allow this club to advertise and this club to advertise, but not my pro-life club? Well, Lucia, if you do, you'll get in trouble. So she gets upset, tells her friend. Her friend says, hey, well, why don't you go see my dad? He's an attorney. So unbeknownst to us, she gets in her little Honda CRV, drives down Preston Road, lands at this big law firm, talks to this attorney. He says, well, let me call Frisco ISD and tell them they can't do this. So that gets resolved, and she comes home and says, Dad, guess what I did at school today? I said, I don't know. What'd you do? She said, well, this happened. I drove down, and I met this guy named Mr. Sasser, and he works for this law firm called First Liberty Law Firm. I'm like, wait a minute. I know First Liberty. They, at the time, were the law firm representing Coach Kennedy, who was the football coach that got fired for praying on the sidelines. And they're a pro bono law firm, and they represented him in the Supreme Court, and he won the case. So she gets involved with this. She comes home and says, yes, I did this. I'm like, holy moly, Lucia, that's really cool. And she says, Dad, I want to be an attorney. I'm like, wow, that's really neat. So the next day, unbeknownst to me, she gets in her little Honda CRV and drives down there again. And she walks in and says, sir, I want to be an attorney. And she dresses very nice and brings a resume. And he says, well, we only hire law students, and you're just a kid in high school. And she says, well, but sir, I know PowerPoint and I know Excel and I can do this and I can do this. So whether it was pity or whatever, they say, okay, come on board. You can work in the mailroom. You can empty trash cans, whatever. So she shows up, wears a business suit, first impressions, and they love her, and she's very personable. And so then at that point, the CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, is coming to Dallas, and this First Liberty law firm is sponsoring it. So they say, Lucia, we got to do a presentation at CPAC. Can you help us make this PowerPoint? Well, sure, I'll help you make the PowerPoint, sir. And then she makes it, well, Lucia, can you come and run the PowerPoint at CPAC for us? Well, sure, I can do that. So they invite her to CPAC, and she meets all the big conservative figures. She meets Kayleigh McEnany. She meets Don Jr. She meets all these people. So now she is graduated college. She's in law school at Regent Law School down in Chesapeake, Virginia. So part of the story is, our move here, we were trusting in God because I was going to get promoted because it's all about me. So I'm a commander. I'm supervising a team. I've been on 9 deployments. I've done this. I got a lot of ribbons and medals. So then I get passed over for promotion. I'm like, God, how can you do this? You brought us all the way here out of our comfort zone. We gave up the ranch, the house that we built, the place I was going to die, and we came here to Texas because it's all about me, and I was going to get promoted, and I didn't. I said, but there's always next year. Well, next year came, and I didn't get promoted again. Like, oh my gosh, and I was frustrated. So then COVID happens, the greatest disease known to mankind ever. Which I'm saying tongue-in-cheek, by the way, doing what I do. So
I'll let you say it, not me.
Yeah, yes, sir, I'll say it. So, COVID, as a scientist and a person with some knowledge of this, I always struggled with the social outcomes of COVID. For example, there was a governor up in a northern state. He said, the restaurants and bars close at 9 p.m. because of COVID. Because the disease does not transmit at 8:59, only at 9. or greater, which scientifically, that was scientifically insulting.
Yeah.
If you know basic biology, you're like, wait a minute, this disease is still as communicable as it is at 8:59 is 9 o'clock, but
Right.
yet you chose to close the bars. If it's really the greatest disease ever known to mankind, why aren't the bars closed all the time?
Yep.
So it was a huge thing. But anyway, so COVID happens, and I'm sent home as a commander, and I got a team I'm supervising and all this, and I'm used to every day from college ROTC through serving at that point 23 years. I'm used to every day waking up, putting on my uniforms, putting on my khakis, or putting on my blue deployment uniform, or putting on my service whites, or putting on whatever. I'm used to getting up every day, putting that on, driving somewhere, doing what I do. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting at home, and I'm still up at 5. Then it's 5:30. And then it's 6, and Bonnie and I are sitting in bed having coffee. And then it's 6:30, and I say, babe, this is awesome. And I'm working from home. And I'm just as efficient, probably more so efficient, because I don't have to go through the task of waking up, showering, putting on clothes, driving somewhere to physically sit somewhere and do what I do, because I can do the same here from my home office versus the task of getting up, leaving McKinney, driving down Interstate 75, playing with all my friends on 75, and physically going somewhere. And at that time, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration office was downtown Dallas, close to Reunion Tower. Quite a journey. So I'm home. So I tell Bonnie, I said, well, I have almost 25 years now active duty. I didn't get promoted, but as we sit back and think about not getting promoted, I see my daughter Lucia doing all this law school stuff. Then my daughter Lily, the youngest, she has started college at Angelo State because the FFA program so impacted her. She loved it so much, she wanted to pursue that in college. Then I have a daughter, I have my number 2 daughter, Leah. When she was 2 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
She had cancer in her left eye, large tumors called retinoblastoma. So through Leah's life, she's had 27 surgeries, multiple rounds of chemo. The chemo went away, and that was the point we got pregnant with Lucia. But then the chemo came back, and we had to actually go in her eye and implant a radioactive plaque. It's like a little shield over top of the tumor.
Wow.
And that killed the tumor, but it left her blind because it fried her optic nerve in her left eye. So Leah's now living with us because she came back home from the missionary field. But when she was 18 in college, she said, Dad, and she's 5'8", blonde, beautiful, the nicest person in the world. And she said, Dad, I want to help other kids with cancer. So Leah, and our family started a 501c3 nonprofit called Leah's Kids. And now Leah goes around helping young children with cancer. And she does multiple approaches. She'll throw customized parties for these little girls. A little girl may have DIPG brain cancer, which is terminal, and all she wants to do is see Elsa and Anna, the frozen princesses. And so Leah arranges them to come in, a pony party food, and then she'll make a monetary donation to this family. She'll do that, but as her time here evolved, because Dallas, Fort Worth is the 4th largest metroplex in the country. Bunch of people here, bunch of opportunities here. So as Leah's Kids progressed, she decided she was going to write a book. So she wrote a book called Princess Marigold, and it's about, she said, I love Disney, and the princesses, but I don't love their morals. So she created a Princess Marigold, who was the first princess to ever have cancer. And she goes around helping little kids with cancer. So she started this children's book, and now she wrote a second one. But she also wrote a children's book about what is cancer. And then she wrote a journal. It's called My Battle Plan. And these little children can have this in the hospital, and they'll talk about, they'll color like, where does it hurt today? And who am I with today? And something they can have. So Leah's evolved with this, and now she's been invited for 2 years in a row to the White House to speak about childhood cancer. She's doing this. And so now Leah public speaks, and she'll get up there and say, cancer and these 27 surgeries is the greatest gift God ever gave me. Because without this, I couldn't talk to you. And I couldn't do this. So she's able to speak truth to that. So, as it turns out, all these years later, Leah lives. She flourishes. 27 surgeries, shouldn't even be here, but she is. She's great, she's happy, and she's the face of Leah's kids. She's impacting kids everywhere, writes books, goes to the White House. She's a public speaker. All this, fantastic. Because if God didn't give her cancer, there's no way she could help all these people now. And then me not getting promoted. Well, me not getting promoted wasn't about me. It wasn't about me. It was about the kids, because if they weren't here in DFW, they could not, she would have never gotten into law school. She would have never been able to stand up for pro-life. And then Leah would never accelerate this, and Lily would have never done this. And then I have an oldest daughter, Lauren. She's fantastic. She's in nurse practitioner school at Texas Women's University. And then my son, Logan, I have one son, my pride and joy. He's a U.S. Army captain or Army Medical Corps. So, the older I get, the less I know. When I was 30, I knew everything. Now that I'm 54, I don't know much. I know what I know. So that's how we got here to the real estate point, which is a long, convoluted story. But to understand me, you have to know all that. Otherwise, so here we are. COVID happens. I tell Bonnie, I said, babe, this is great. I'm never going into the office again. I said, what do you want to do? I can retire. And she had been a realtor in Ohio for about 12 years. So she said, well, and she's also a registered nurse by trade.
Okay.
So she said, I'm going to try real estate. So we were living in McKinney. She transfers her license, gets a broker, and it didn't work well for her. Didn't get any customers, any clients. She leased one house, and that was it. After 6 months, she quit. So she went back to nursing full time, which is hard as you get older, the time on the floor gets harder, the standing, the lifting, the pulling. So I say, you and I, we've done house flips in Ohio because things were very cheap. We bought our first investment property for $16,000 in the town of Steubenville, Ohio. A little 2-bedroom, 1-bath at about 187 years old, but it was really cool. And we rented that thing out for $400 a month, and our mortgage was $236, and we made about $150 a month. But for a young family with 5 kids and 1 income, that $150 was used at the end of the month. When we ran out of toilet paper and spaghetti sauce, that money came in handy. So as our time in Ohio, we collected about 9 or 10 rental properties. And we were making $100 or $200 per property per month. And that was really cool because that helped our young family do what we needed to do. And then we got into house flips. And then I got into a pattern of house flipping that I liked. I liked the little ranches, the smaller houses on a larger lot, a little bit of acreage that was easy to do. I didn't want a big house. I wanted an easy house. And we developed, as many flippers do, that pattern. We used the same luxury vinyl plank. We used the same paint. We used the same carpet. We knew what doorknobs we were going to use. We knew everything after trial and error. And we had a formula, and it worked. And if I could make $10,000 a house, that was really cool for us. And that was a blessing, and that helped. So we get to Texas, and Bonnie's not successful like in real estate. And then I say, well, you know what? Instead of going and working at Raytheon or Harris or whatever, I like real estate. because I liked the land aspect. Because in Ohio, I had a tractor. I did a lot of bow hunting. I did shooting. I was in the woods. I liked all that. So I said, I told Bonnie, I said, I've done everything in real estate except for actually sell something. Because our ranch in Ohio, we did water spring development.
Right.
We got into hydraulic fracking. We had a fracking lease. So I started understanding mineral rights and timber rights and subdivision and frontages and easements. And I started learning all that just because I was a dude experiencing it. So then we transitioned here, and I said, I want to do real estate. And I said, I like land. I know land. I could probably do that. So I found Champion School of Real Estate, got online, took all my hybrid courses, passed the courses, passed the real estate exam. So there I was. New realtor, I had nothing. At that time, we were transitioning from McKinney because it was driving me crazy coming from 50 acres to now in a cute little subdivision with houses 6.5 inches from me. So we transitioned out there and we were driving around, and we started driving around like the little Texas towns. And we started liking, we drove to Wiley, we drove here, landed in Farmersville one day, liked the vibe there. I liked it because it was home of Audie Murphy, which is our nation's greatest decorated war hero from World War II. Really neat story. So I liked that little town vibe. That was Collin County. So we started driving around a little bit, crossed over the Hunt County line. We saw this house for sale. It was a stone ranch with some dormers, wraparound porch, and it had trees. And we like trees. A lot of my Texas friends don't like trees; they just like pasture. But we like trees. It had a big barn, and so they were having an open house. So we stopped and walked in. I walk out to the barn. I see the owner. He says, "Hey, you want to buy my house?" I'm like, well, it's kind of expensive. And, we have a house in McKinney. And at that time, we hadn't sold our house in Ohio yet. So we were renting that. I was paying a mortgage in Ohio, a mortgage in McKinney. I said, well, I can't possibly get a third mortgage. That's just insane. But I have a VA home loan benefit. So we actually decided to buy that house. I used my VA benefit. The owner said, well, look, I need to build a new house. It's going to take me a year. Why don't I just rent this from you for a year? And so we stayed in McKinney. Our kids finished up, and then we transitioned out to the Farmersville area. So I found a broker out there, and my wife, Bonnie, was not on board with real estate yet. She said, I tried it for 6 months. It didn't work. So this is where the real estate thought process for me started. I said, there are 150,000 realtors in Texas. I said, that's a lot. And when people go into careers, they don't typically pick something saturated. And they don't, a smart person picks a good field where they're in demand. I did the exact opposite. I said, hey, let me get into real estate because really the barriers to entry into real estate are
License, broker.
a few tests, a few courses, pass a test, find a broker. So you have all skill sets that can be a realtor. So I recognized that. And then we came to a little town, and there were very established realtors there, historically, generational. So I said, how do I break into this market and become a realtor that people will know, trust, and ultimately hire and pay me money to do stuff for them? So I didn't know. So I have 4 daughters, and they're like, Dad, you got to get into social media. And that was the time, and that was my mindset. I would hear I'd hear the news reports. Well, this quarter, Facebook earned $80 gazillion billion. And I'm like, well, how does Facebook earn money? It's people go on and post about their dog's birthday. How are they earning money? I had no idea. So the girls say, hey, let me introduce you to this thing called Canva. Let me introduce you to Facebook, Dad. And so my girls start, and then I say, okay. And then, we love Texas. We love Texas. We love the people. We love the vibe. We love the attitude. We love the diversity. We love everything about Texas. And Texas is an economic engine unlike anything I've ever seen, because we've been stationed all over the country. In Texas, people are coming. There are jobs, because people come because of jobs. But a lot of people stay because of the culture and the people. And we close about 30 properties a year. For the last 4 years, we've done that. And I'd say about half of my clients are non-Texan. They are folks coming here. And I think it's really neat when I see international folks coming here and they come out and meet me for the first time and they're wearing boots and hat. I said, that is so cool. That is so cool when I see that Korean person, that Indian person, that Chinese person wearing and embracing Texas. And we love that. That is super cool. So we get into Farmersville, and my girls introduce me to social media. So I make a post. That was the time the president was giving some stimulus money away. And my daughter Lily is doing pigs with FFA. And she also has a pink AR-15 and shoots it. So I made a post. It said, hey, use your stimulus money. Buy pigs. I show a picture of Lily with her pig. Or buy guns. A picture of Lily shooting her gun. I said, and if you don't do that, come see me and buy land. Well, at the time, my broker was not happy about that. And we had a conversation about me involving family and non-real estate things into real estate. So I decided to part ways with that broker. And we found another broker that really embraced that. So I start getting into the social media, start getting into the videos and talking, because I wanted people to know our story and to learn about us. So we started talking about other things. Like, hey, I'm Travis Hunt with Texas Team Real Estate. I'm out here on this 3-acre piece of land. I got the client. He wants to buy this house, but we can't find the septic tank. Where's the septic tank? It's missing. So we get this dude out here. He comes up. We take a big rod, jam it in the ground. Hey, we found the septic tank. Let's clear this out and put some risers. And hey, this is a riser. This is a lid to a septic. Let's look in, and now we can inspect it. Hey, you got to make sure you can find the septic tank. And so people responded and started liking that. And it's very neat. Texas is very diverse. I love McKinney. Love Melissa. Love Van Alstyne. Love all these areas, and there's new builders everywhere. And it's really neat taking a client into this home and say, okay, well, you got 4 floor plan choices. You got 4 granite countertop choices, 2 roof shingle count choices, and a farm sink or a double vanity sink. What do you want? Pick one. Bam, bam, bam. They're all the same. Very nice. And Texas has beautiful houses, beautiful neighborhoods, but most of our clients out there is very different. I love sitting down at a table in a home builder or a nice big house in McKinney, but a lot of my deals are done on the back of my Toyota Tundra truck bed. It's very different. We're all within an hour of DFW, but most of my clients in McKinney, in Frisco, in Plano, they work in Dallas, and they have a 401k, and it's matched by their employer, and it's really neat, and they get to put on a coat and tie or whatever and go down here. But a lot of my clients, my rural clients, their land is their retirement. Their thing, their manufactured home, that's their retirement. So I had one guy stop me after church one day, and he said, how do you sleep at night when you're going around here cutting up land and selling it? I said, well, I said, let me tell you, sir. Where do you work? Well, I do IT for this and this, and I did it. I said, there you go. I said, you're super blessed. You make 6 figures. You got an IT job. You got a 401k. You got insurance. You got this. But Mr. Smith here, he's been a rancher his whole life. And now he doesn't feel like ranching because he's 70 years old and doesn't want to do it. And he's old and tired and ready to chill. So, but he's sick. And he may not have a lot of health insurance. He may not have a lot of this. So he's going to sell off 10 acres for $300,000 so he can survive. And I said, and I'm okay with that because it's his land. And if that's what he needs to get through life and survive, that's okay. Because he's not taking a cruise. He's not going on a European vacation. He's paying medical bills. And he's doing this and that. So that's how I sleep at night. Having that blessing where people trust me enough to come in and say, how can we pivot and do this and get me in a place where I need to be here? Went to a lady yesterday. Her name was Marcia. She has a manufactured home, 4.412 acres. And she put out a post on Facebook. I'm looking for a realtor. I want to sell my manufactured home and land for $500,000. And I sent her a personal message. I said, Marcia, it's nice to meet you. My name's Travis. I live kind of close to you. I said, I see your post, but I said, honestly, ma'am, I don't think you're going to get 500. I said, I think this is really closer to a 400. I said, I just wanted to share that with you. So Marcia reached out to me about a week later. She said, can you come over and talk to me? I said, okay. And so I came over yesterday and talked to her. She said, another realtor told me I could get 500. I said, look, I want to sell your house for $3 million because I'm a capitalist and the more I sell it for, the more I make. But I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I said, I'm not going to say that to you. She's 75. She wants to move away to be with her family. Her husband passed away. Her family's up in the Northeast. She'd like to sell it, but this is all she has in the whole world is this 4.412 acres and this manufactured home. And I think that's one of the blessings because I approach real estate with a uniform service pension. So we survive. We're blessed to be able to survive and pay our bills on our pension. So that allows me the freedom to speak truth to my clients. And I've never asked anyone to list their house. I've never asked anybody to buy something. If they ask me my opinion, I'll tell them. But I don't think anybody likes that used car salesman. Buy it, sell it. I went to a dealership locally once. I sent an inquiry about a vehicle, and to this day, I receive calls still. Mr. Hunt, you want to come in and buy that? No. Nobody wants that. So by the Lord blessing me with a pension and a paycheck, I'm able, when I meet my clients, to meet them on a level playing field and speak truth to them. I met a gentleman years ago. He had some land in Celeste, Texas. He says, hey, let's sell it. I want to sell this. I'm like, this is gorgeous. This land's beautiful. Why do you want to sell? Well, I need to do this and this. I said, are you sure? Well, yeah, I'd like to do this and this and this. I said, I don't know, man. This is really pretty. He said, please, won't you list my land? I said, okay, I'll do it. But I think people appreciate that level of honesty. Nobody wants to be
sold.
Nobody wants to be sold. I want to be a resource.
So how have you're doing 30 transactions and a lot of that's land, which is incredible.
It's about half land and half houses. Yeah.
So how have you said social media was the start of your lead generation, but how are you what's your number one source of getting your current clients? Is it referrals, word of mouth?
It's interesting because as a young realtor knowing nobody and knowing nothing, we are very social media focused. But I believed it was important that people got to know me because without my children and my family and our background and our marriage, then you don't really know me. And I've had people come up and say, hey, I saw you on Facebook and I love your videos. How's your daughter doing? And so people get to know that, but that wasn't a marketing strategy. That was just me. So So we do that, but then as I began evolving into, because really any realtor, you're going to get the listing, sign an agreement, put it on the MLS. It goes on to Zillow, goes on to realtor.com. Thank you. Any breathing realtor does that.
Right.
Okay. So our marketing involves 4 pillars. Number 1, social media,
Okay.
which is Facebook, but I'm also now understanding YouTube. We started a YouTube channel. I've recently got into Instagram.
And is it all free? So you don't boost anything? It's just
I do
all...
boost.
You do boost,
Yes,
okay.
I do strategically boost, and I do Facebook Marketplace now, and that's really evolved a lot. But I also find there's other websites that are not free that I use and pay money to use, and the results are generally positive from those. And I'll target specific lifestyles with those websites. So that's one thing, and then another pillar is the
You feel like giving the secrets out for those websites?
well,
or you
well,
wanna-
no,
you
I'm
wanna
not.
keep
You
that?
know, I'm not going to share like all those websites, but there are lifestyle websites, and then also when we are interviewing with a client, part of this is I told Bonnie when we started, I said, look, if we get into real estate, we can't just swirl our toe in and hope for the best. We have to strategically approach this. And me being a uniform service, a military guy, I said, almost this is like a military operation. We have to engage and robustly engage and not hope for the best.
Mhm.
We got to hope, trust, and pray, but engage. So part of that was social media, but part of that was, I'm old. I'm 54. I like paper. I didn't grow up with a Kindle or a Nook. I like textbooks. I like paper. So part of ours is old school marketing with paper, and part of ours is old school presentations to my clients. So when I meet clients, I'm prepared. I can tell them about their land, where a pipeline is, where an easement is, where a pond is, what their contour is, what type of soil they have. I can tell them all that.
Is that the second prong, paper advertisement?
Paper is another prong. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So another prong there. And then also when we're marketing houses, we'll have open houses. That's great. And, I think open houses are very important for the client because I like to give the client the opportunity to showcase their property, but I also have to showcase it for them. So if we're on something more than a few acres, we'll bring our side by side out there. We'll park it, we'll set it up, and when a client wants to see it, I'll put them in it and drive them around, because how can you buy 10 acres if you can't see it?
Yeah.
So that's important. For example, we're showing a 53-acre listing tonight up in Celeste, 2 manufactured homes, big barn, $799, great deal. It hasn't sold yet. I'm frustrated. My client's frustrated, but I'm showing it tonight. And, I'm bringing our side by side, and I'm putting these 3 folks in it, and we're going to drive around so I can showcase and tell this property story. It has to be able to tell their story.
So what would your advice be? So here's the stat: 71% of realtors didn't make a single transaction in 24. One of the limiting beliefs is the same belief that you didn't believe it, but you said it, which is, when you don't know a single person, there's thousands of agents out there that are in new cities, myself included. I'm not from here, but the limiting belief could be.
Where are you from?
I'm from Waco.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
But then I lived in Louisiana for a few years and moved to Dallas after that. So the limiting belief is, okay, I am in a new city.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surrounded by generational agents who have been here for years. There's no way I could separate myself. But your story is you have.
Right.
So what would your advice be?
And part of it was, my challenge was, there's generational agents, plus there's also many young, highly motivated, beautiful young ladies that are doing a lot of pictures and videos, and there's a lot of exciting people doing a lot of stuff. So how do we get out there? I believed it was important to tell our story as to why they should hire me, because people don't want to see me. I'm not pretty. But I want them to know that we're real, and I want them to know that we know our skill set. But it also has to be, because people have a very short attention span, about 8.5 seconds. So I'm not going to sit here and do a 47-minute video with somebody because nobody's going to watch it. So we have some also some interesting things we do on our videos. Every property, whether it's $1 million listing or a $200,000 listing, I show it the same amount of love. Professional images, drone, video, etc. But we also do neat videos. We have a character for our videos, and it's not a secret thing because everybody can see it if you've ever been on our videos. And we have a character. So right here.
Mm.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
it
Okay. What is
Sasquatch?
that? That's Sasquatch.
It just walks through.
Pieces of road frontage, each an acre, lot there, lot here, and then the house is back there. When you got big road frontage and you got woods and you got a home, you never know what you'll see. My name's Travis Hunt. I'm a realtor with Texan Team Real Estate. Remember, I can't call you, you have to call me.
So branding, I've never taken a marketing class, but branding is huge. I want people to know us, to know our brand, to see us. My smarter, lovelier wife, Bonnie, created our Texan Team logo for us, and it's everywhere. We have keychains, we have stickers, we have sweatshirts, we have T-shirts, we have a billboard, we have this, so that's everywhere. But we also, that video was 33 seconds. I don't like to do them any longer than 30 seconds. 30 seconds is it. But that Bigfoot character is really cool.
Yeah.
People like that. People will come up, who's the Bigfoot? Where did it come from? So we're starting to do that on all our land listings. And it's neat. People like it and people look for it. And it's kind of silly. It's kind of neat, but it's cool. And people look forward to that. And I'll have certain taglines that I use. Hey, I'm Travis Hunt, realtor with Texan Team. Remember, I can't call you. You have to call me. It sounds stupid, but it's true.
Yeah.
I can't call you, and I'm not going to call you. I'm not a realtor that goes on and looks at canceled listings or for sale by owners and then calls people. Hello, I saw you just canceled your listing. Will you let me list your house instead? I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to chase. I don't want to bug. I want to be a resource to people. So that's another way is we get our videos. They're creative. And then, challenges for me is learning about these video algorithms and how they work and how the wedding dress video I did and just released with my two daughters getting married in the same year. What a blessing. We bought 2 wedding dresses, live video. I got about 7,000 hits on that. That was really cool. But last year we were in California visiting my wife's brother. And I always have like my hat with me, and we were at a gas station filling up, and gas was over $5 a gallon. And we'll release Texan Team Tuesday tip videos, and every few Tuesdays I'll do a Tuesday tip.
I like that.
And so this was a Tuesday. I run out there on the side of the freeway at the Chevron station. I'm like, hey, here I am alive in California. Look at this gas. It's $5.23 a gallon. This is insane. These people love it. They pay it. I said, my name's Travis Hunt. I'm a realtor with Texan Team Real Estate. And hey, I'm from Texas. We love Texas. And we don't pay $5.23 a gallon here in Texas. We like brisket. We like this. We like this. And that's not so much about me, come let me list or sell your house. That was just, and that video got 20,000+ likes and views.
Yeah.
And views. And I don't know why.
I think you're being genuine, you're being yourself, and that's the biggest thing.
So, my septic tank video got some, this video got some, but certain ones will get a lot of, and certain ones I don't necessarily think will get a lot do. So but I don't plan these videos. They're just very situational. And I tell my wife, usually she films them on our iPhone 23 i++ Max. And I tell her, if we don't do it in the first take, it's no good.
Yeah.
And most of my videos are
Yeah.
the first take.
Well, I want to. We're at the hour mark, which
Oh
is,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
Okay,
we
I'm
need to wrap
sorry.
up. So I know you got some stuff to get to, but how can everybody find you and like social media, website?
Yeah. So we are texanteam.com.
Okay.
And it was really interesting when I was moving towards creating Texan Team. I went to the Secretary of State's website and searched for Texan Team, and that name was available. And then I go on GoDaddy, and texanteam.com was available. I'm like, dear baby Jesus, how can that possibly be? Those two names that seem very popular. So we lock that down with the Secretary of State and lock that down.
There you go.
And then bam, bam, bam. So it's
And
texanteam.com, and then
what's your Instagram?
I don't know. I just I'm very new to Instagram. I am super excited to say I have 50. Because my daughter Lily helps me on this. I have 60 followers. I got another one last night. It's TexanTeam_real estate.
There we go.
So I'm still learning that Instagram way. So it's super cool.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad you came on. It's great hearing your story. I think it's inspiring. You didn't share the secrets, but I think it's anyone who's listening. They listen to what you did and how you've gotten to where you're at. And I think for most people, it's I can do it too. If you're living proof that you can make a change and get into real estate at any point.
And now we're at the point where Texan Team is my wife and I, and we are ready to start growing. We've even considered taking on a agent. If somebody reaches out to us, we're okay with that, because I'd like to be that resource and be able to help whatever younger or older agent like me get started, and share a few tactics and strategies, and say a little prayer and get it going, and see, because we're all in this together.
Right.
So we're all doing this together. But
Yeah.
but hey, because I appreciate you having me on.
Great
Thank you,
having
sir, very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. And we're done.